Hello viewers, welcome back again to EMAV TV. We appreciate you for coming. Today is a very beautiful day the Lord has made, and we rejoice and be glad in it. We thank you for being with us once again. We have a very interesting subject today to discuss. I am so happy and excited, and I hope you are too. With me to discuss this subject is Pastor Eben Alonge and Pastor Joseph Jung. I'm going to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves to us in a better way. So, Pastor Eben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Eben Alonge. I am privileged by the grace of God to pastor David Scott Church here in Atlanta. I am married. I've been married for like 10 years, almost 10 years. And I'm a father of 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. I'm glad to be here on this program.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Pastor Joseph, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, viewers. My name is Joseph Jung, pastor at an Atlanta Good Church right here. And I've been married for 3 years, and we're expecting a boy. And I'm glad to be here. So thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Today for discussion, viewers, we are talking on the subject of escaping sexual addiction. This is a subject that is very important at this time. We struggle with it in the churches, in our various lives. We want to talk on it and see how best we can all help ourselves out of this tragedy. So to start with, I'm going to start asking questions about what addiction is and how we can escape it and get away with it so that our bodies will really remain as a temple for Christ. So Pastor Joseph, can you help us understand what sexual addiction is?
Yeah, sure. So I'd like to think of sexual addiction as a problem in our identity, in psychology, and spirituality. In our identity, I think there are shadows, and we like to call them anxieties, impulses, some things that we can control or that cannot control. But in terms of spirituality, it is like abusing the image of ourselves and abusing the image of God, because we are made in the image of God. So when we're talking about sexual addiction, we're also abusing our body as well. And our body is important because we are made in the image of God, and it is a temple of God. So I think that's how we should think of sexual addiction in this term.
Thank you very much, Pastor Joseph, for this wonderful explanation. Pastor Eben, can you please help us?
Yes, in addition to what Pastor Joseph just said, when our God is a master planner. So when God made man, he made a male and female, and then he created, part of the creation is sex. And sex is meant to be beautiful, sex is meant to be enjoyed. Sex, according to the Bible, is meant for fellowship, for warmth, for the procreation, and for everything beautiful that God created it for. When a device is created, there's always a purpose for it. Every inventor has a purpose for what he made. So God that created sex had a purpose for it, and he created it such that man may enjoy it, humanity may enjoy it. So if sex is done the way God wants it to be done, it is not an addiction, and within the confine of God's prescription, it is not an addiction. But the moment you push it out of God's defined prescription, then it becomes an addiction.
Thank you very much. Can you continue with it to tell us how do people get sexually addicted?
Yes, and it's unfortunate that is a very prevalent issue, not just in the world today, but also in the church. And since we are talking, within the parameters of the church, people get addicted, when for any reason, sex is not done within the parameters of marriage and between a husband and a wife, between man and his wife. So people get addicted when they engage in pornography, for example, when they engage, in my understanding, when they engage in masturbation, when they engage in, self-love, like Pastor Joseph said, and then they tend to give pleasure to themselves, when they watch films and movies and magazines that unnecessarily open them up to sexual pressure, that cannot be satisfied within the confines of marriage. So those are some of the reasons or some of the ways that people get addicted.
Thank you. Pastor Joseph, do you think there are other ways other than what Pastor Eben has said that people get sexually addicted, like little kids growing up? Do they see parents do it and they follow suit? Because sometimes you kind of try to walk in the feet of our parents or the older people we look up to, right? Yeah. So do you think in that instance we learn from our homes, our bigger brothers, sisters, all those things? Do you think a factor into how people get addicted to sex?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not an expert by any means, but yes, there is definitely a genetics issue and a nurture issue. And I think some people are born with more like impulses, and some people are born with that type of anxieties and some things that they cannot control. And also, I think it is also fostered by our environment, our family, our community, and what they're exposed to. Like the TV programs that they watch, the smartphones these days are so prevalent. Everybody's hooked up to the smartphone, and it's just one click away. All those triggers, sexually triggering issues, are just one click away, and it's not even regulated. Kids under the age of 18 are just freely clicking away on these images and videos, and they're texting, sexting, and so I think there are so many ways that this can be just triggered easily. And I feel really sorry and bad for the generations that are growing up today, but I think as religious leaders and community, I think we need to be mindful. We need to be teaching them and nurturing them and praying for them and guiding them in a way so that they won't be triggered so much by these images and videos, and actually driving toward the spiritual side, toward God and the image of God.
Thank you. So viewers, we are hearing it's a very big issue, like Pastor Eben said. Sometimes we want to look at it from the outside, the people who don't go to church, the worldly people, but we are struggling with it in the church too. So we are bringing it up, we are discussing it so that we all can come up with a solution and the best way to do away with this so that we can live a good life out of self-love. So we need you to comment, suggest. Tell us too what you think can help to get out of this situation. Pastor Eben, I'll come back to you now. How do people know they are addicted?
That's a very big question. And before I go to how people know that they are addicted, to support what Pastor Joseph just said, even if people don't want to be involved in sexting and all these stuff, our world is so charged that everywhere you turn, on TVs, in advertisements, all over the place, images that provoke sexual activities, is just all over the place. So you know that you are sexually addicted when, for whatsoever reason, which have been highlighted, you are not able to control yourself sexually. You are not able to put your body under control. You are not able to say no. The grace of God is no longer available for you to stand your ground, in the face of, sexual perversion. So, for example, married people, we may maybe it's only young people that are sexually, addicted or whatever. If for any reason a man who is married to a woman is not able to hold his body, if for any reason the wife is away or the husband is away and is seeking for sexual pleasure somewhere else, that person is sexually addicted. If for any reason a young person is hooked up to pornography or to sexually, activating films, that will provoke his body and his sexual orientation unnecessarily, and you are able to close your mind against it and say no to it, then you know that you are sexually, addicted.
Thank you very much. Viewers, we will take a commercial break and we will return back to you with the rest of the discussion. Please stay with us, don't go. We will be right back.
Hello, hi there. This is EMAV TV. I encourage you to watch EMAV TV this and every Saturday, and I promise you your life will not be the same. EMAV TV, touching lives where necessary.
EMAV TV. I encourage you to keep watching EMAV TV. We are here to plant seeds of hope for the hopeless and encourage men and women to live independently for the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Hello, hi there. This is EMAV TV. I encourage you to watch EMAV TV this and every Saturday, and I promise you your life will not be the same. EMAV TV, touching lives where necessary. Hello, hi there. This is EMAV TV. I encourage you to watch EMAV TV this and every Saturday, and I promise you your life will not be the same. EMAV TV, touching lives where necessary.
EMAV TV. I encourage you to keep watching EMAV TV. We are here to plant seeds of hope for the hopeless and encourage men and women to live independently for the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Welcome back, viewers. I hope you didn't go away. You stayed right there. I was waiting for us. We are glad you stayed. And we are back with more discussion on this issue of sexual addiction. I would like to use this opportunity to appreciate our producer, Mr. Alfred Appiah, and my own husband, who is the idea behind this whole thing, Mr. Evans Mintah, who God, in his own way, told him that we can use this to reach out to people too. So I really appreciate this vision, and we pray it will stay and go forward and reach the people like it was intended to. Back to our conversation. Don't lose me. We are here again. We are talking about sexual addiction, and we are going to go back to Pastor Joseph. And Pastor Joseph, can you tell us some of the things, some of the consequences of this sexual addiction?
Right. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, sexual addiction is not only a sin against humanity and our identity, it is sin against God. So, the consequences, the most direct consequence of sexual addiction is abusing our humanity, not seeing our humanity as a human, but an object, as a thing that could be used for our pleasures. So the consequence, the real direct consequence, is abusing someone else's humanity, devaluing them, demeaning them, and just it's a violence and oppression. Sexual addiction is violence against the body. So that is the direct consequence of sexual addiction. And there are so many side effects, so many other influences that sexual addiction have, not just to ourselves, but to our families, to our communities. Because every time we abuse somebody's identity, every time we abuse somebody's body, we are abusing, we're taking away the value from that person and from that community. And in essence, we're taking the value away from God and spirituality. So that is the direct consequence of sexual abuse.
Okay, thank you very much, Pastor Joseph. Pastor Eben, can you?
Yeah, I think in addition to that, when somebody is sexually addicted, number one thing it does for you is that it breaks your relationship with God, and you don't want that. You know, it puts a barrier between you and God, because your body is the temple of God. That's where God dwells, and when you abuse it, like Pastor Joseph said, I mean, it doesn't add up. I mean, you break relationship with God. You know, you always and consistently have guilty conscience. You know, without anybody telling you, you know that what you are doing is not correct, except your conscience is seared. You know it is not correct. So you have this guilty conscience. You're not able to approach the throne of God with boldness like you used to. Remember, that's if you're a Christian. You know, then it destabilizes you. I mean, you are not organized. You know, you are not psychologically balanced. That's the word. You know, you are not psychologically balanced, so it destabilizes you. You are not organized. Things are not working the way they should work, because you are not doing the right thing. You are more like a prodigal child, right, you know, of God. So when you break relationship with God because of sexual addiction, it affects you psychologically, it affects your organizational ability, it affects everything that you do. And it annoys, because it does not allow you to focus, you're not able to focus. That's what you're thinking of all the time. And I shared earlier that sometimes when people are sexually addicted, initially it may be like it's a natural phenomenon, it's a psychological phenomenon, but I believe very strongly that when the devil sees that this is a weakness in someone's life, the devil brings a demon around it to make it become a stronghold that hold people very strongly, because it's a point of weakness. The devil will hammer it. So it is very, very important that we don't even get into it at all, because when we get into it, it is worse and more horrible than it is better imagined, than experienced.
Right. And can I add on to that? So I think sin is being away from the presence of God, right? And sin makes you defend yourself against God. Sin makes you, so in the defense of yourself, you're kind of offending God. You're on the offensive. You're on the defensive as well and the offensive as well toward God and humanity. So you constantly set aside yourself from God. You constantly step away from God. And that's why you constantly draw away from God and the community. And it breaks off all the relationships with God and with the people. And in essence, you're breaking off the relationship with yourself, because you can't look at yourself. You can't look at your human self. You keep objectifying yourself. And that's why it has really big consequences in your life.
Thank you very much, Pastor Eben and Pastor Joseph, for such a deep explanation. Viewers, we also have on our team Pastor Richard Johnson. He's here with us, supporting us. He's one of the producers, proofreading our discussion and telling us what to do, what not to do. So we really appreciate him. We're going to continue with our discussion. And Pastor Eben, so does getting married prevent sexual addiction? Marriage is the solution.
So the answer is no. I mean, that's a quick answer. And then the explanation is that when there's an issue, when there's an issue that is deeply rooted, you don't treat it from the surface, you treat it from the roots. When someone is sexually addicted, it's a problem. It's a psychological problem, it's a spiritual problem, and it's everything. So if you go into marriage, for example, someone who has known multiple partners before marriage, the likelihood, even remove spiritual, the likelihood that that kind of person will not stay true to a partner is almost 100%. For someone who has been sexually active, they have been connected so much with pornography and with all sorts, and he or she didn't have control over it, going into marriage doesn't solve it. In fact, the truth is that going into marriage may even escalate it. That's the sad truth. So being married does not stop it. So that somebody has sexual issues and like, and parents do that, and maybe friends. Once you get married, you'll be fine. No, you'll be worse when you get married. So you better resolve the matter, treat it. Be all. Be all that God wants to be before you go into marriage. Otherwise, that marriage will head for disaster. So marriage does not stop it.
Thank you very much. Pastor Joseph, what do you think about that subject?
So, by the very nature of a sexual act, two persons become one. And the thing about the psychology of the person who is willing to abuse this sexual nature is they're constantly taking away from their own marriage partner and themselves in connecting with somebody else outside the marriage. So they're constantly connecting themselves with someone else, and in essence they're taking their energy away from the marriage. They're taking their energy from their body, and it's constantly it's accumulative. It constantly adds to the sin, and it constantly negates themselves by spending or wasting their energy outside of marriage. So people, it doesn't matter whether they're inside the marriage or not, when they're abusing sexual activities, because it is that person. It is that person who is struggling with that, who is abusing it, and by the very nature of their struggles and abuse, they're abusing the community around themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Maybe I should then add a little to that. If you think that sexual abuse is just, or sexual addiction is just evil spiritual, what are you guys talking about? Science has proven, when you're talking about energy, I just remember, science has proven that when you begin to have multiple sexual partners, you kind of deposit your DNA everywhere you go. I mean, it's horrible that when a lady, for example, has multiple sexual partners, eventually when they did that research, they realized the DNA of all the human beings that she had sexual relationship with, it's all over the person. Then again, STDs are all over the place, sexually transmitted diseases. And in the US, for example, we realize that it's been proven that it's very much on the rise. People are dying, people are spending so much money trying to treat themselves, this thing being transmitted. So even removing the spiritual, consequences, the physical consequence, you are prone to contacting STDs, which is needless,
Thank you very much. I hope you are learning, viewers. This is a very interesting subject. It is on the rise. Diseases are on the rise. So many things going on, your spirituality. We have to be mindful of how we deal with our sexual life. So, how do we then? How is it possible for somebody to stay away from this addiction?
You want to give the answer? Yeah, sure. I mean, remember again, we're talking about people who are Christians. If you're not a Christian, and as a pastor, I will tell you that number one thing you need to do is that you need to give your life to Christ. Accept Jesus as your Lord and your personal Savior. Recognize that your body does not belong to you. Your body belongs to God, the giver of that body. And recognize that for everything that you do here on earth, there's a judgment in heaven. Aside the consequences you will experience here on earth. And for Christians, if for any reason you are sexually addicted, number one thing that you do is that you need to recognize that it is a problem. Because one of the tactics of the devil is that the devil does not want people to know that they are in a problem. And the more you realize that, the more you think that it's not a problem, the worse it becomes. So you must recognize it's a problem and you must ask God for forgiveness. God is a loving God. He wants to forgive you. Ask him for forgiveness. Number 3 is that the Bible says you should guard your hearts with all diligence, because out of it proceeds the issue of life. You must do everything within your capacity to guard your heart. How do you guard your heart? Stop watching pornography. Be deliberate about it. Stop watching films that are full of sexual activities. Be deliberate about it. Let your mind tell your eyes what your eyes will see. You understand? Be deliberate about it. You've asked for forgiveness. You want to be deliberate about it. Number 3, you need to pray. You need to pray for the Holy Spirit to empower you to say no. But say the grace of God has appeared unto all men, teaching us to say no. Grace does not allow us to live in sin. The Apostle Paul said, shall we be in sin and say grace should abound? He said no. So what grace does is that grace gives you capacity. Grace is an energizer to say no in the face of sin. So you need to trust God and pray for grace to say no. And the 4th thing I want to mention is that you must fill your heart. Because now when you say I don't want to be sexually addicted again, I don't want to watch pornography again, you can't leave that space empty. The Bible says that when you cast out a demon and you fill it with nothing, that demon will go around and you will come back again. You will say, oh, this place is still empty. You will come back with 7 demons more powerful than him or her, and then you will take hold. So you must fill your heart with the word of God. God was telling Joshua, he said, do not let this book of the Lord depart from your mouth. From your mouth, meaning that you are reading it, it's in your mouth, then you will meditate on it. It must be in your heart day and night. It is there that will make your way prosperous. So how will you stay clean sexually? You must fill your heart with the word of God. Don't excuse it. Don't say grace will cover it. Don't say don't worry, I can't help it. No, you can help it. Grace can help you to stand against it and to wage war and to win the war over it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pastor Joseph, can you add up?
Pastor Eben eloquently explained scripturally how we could prevent and break sexual addiction. And one thing I would like to add is, in Asian cultures, we view ourselves as a form of energy. So when you're sexually abusing and you're depleting your essence, your energy into these sexual activities, you're constantly depleting your energy. And what happens is you're constantly low on energy and you want to fulfill it, but what happens is you think you're fulfilling it by doing more sexual activities, by doing more, connecting with more people, but what happens is you're just constantly running on low fuel. So how you fill your energy is, take time to reflect. Just take your time, think about it, breathe, pray, and think about how to better fill positive energy within you. And you do that scripturally by reading the Bible, praying, thinking about God, thinking about other people, thinking in the image of God, thinking about putting yourself in a spirit's place, and really thinking about the heart of God, and really thinking about the perspective of God, and how you view other people, how you view yourself, and actually doing something positive in your own life and doing something positive in other people's lives. That's how you break the cycle of sin, and that's how you break the cycle of sexual addiction, by doing something positive rather than doing something negative. You want to add energy, you want to add positive energy to yourself and to the community. And it's simple things like go look for volunteering opportunities, go feed the hungry, go clothe the poor, go pray for somebody else, be with somebody else, and really think about them, think about how you could help them right now at the present moment. That's how you not think about the negative things. You don't think about the negative things by thinking about the positive things. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
If I may say just one word, just to happen that I know we're running low on time. What sexual addiction does is that it creates images in our minds. You understand? It creates images in our minds, and these images, they are very, very tough to erase. I mean, I'm a pastor, and I'm not young as it were, but there are images that have been in my mind for 30 years, for example. They are still there, and that's simple truth. But the Bible talks about renewing our minds. The Bible talks about renewing our minds. So we must learn to renew our mind with the Word of God. Even if those images are still there for any reason, we must allow the Word of God to superimpose itself on those images. We must allow, our energies to be so directed, to be so positively directed that, even if those images are still there, they come entirely to the background. And then whatever we are doing, as Christians, whatever scriptures we have as Christians, whatsoever area we want to divert our energies to as Christians, becomes the prevalent one in our mind.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing we could add on to that is seek counseling. I don't know if counseling is available wherever you are, but if you can seek counseling from professional, there are pastors, there are religious leaders. Keep each other accountable. Keep each other responsible. It's simple as just talking about it, keeping tabs on one another, and really, in the Bible, even in the Bible, it says, talk about your sins. Let your sins be open. That's how you break the cycle of sin. So, keep it open. Acknowledge that you're weak. Acknowledge that you're, abusing sexual activities. And just talk about it with your elders and really try to keep each other accountable. And that way, you're helping each other break the cycle of sin together.
Thank you very much for such an interesting discussion. I think we have really dealt with the subject today. I have learned a lot. And what I'm taking with me is that seek help. Talk about it, because the more you hide it, then it stays on you and you think nobody knows. But if you talk about it, it becomes exposed and people will help you get out of the situation. So thank you very much once again, viewers. And thank you, Pastor Joseph.
Thank you.
And Pastor Eben for coming to talk on such a wonderful subject. And I know we are learning, our viewers are very happy for this subject because it's something we are all dealing with and it's about time we addressed it. We appreciate you very much, viewers, for coming back with us today. Please share, like, comment, suggest. We want to know what you think about this subject. What do you also think? Is there something we didn't say that you think might help? Put it in the comment section. Somebody will read and we will all get to the people out there. So please suggest and subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's a couple of videos we upload there. And this is all inspirational videos that will take you through this journey of life. We thank you once again. And we will meet here same time next week on EMAV TV. EMAV TV, touching lives where necessary. See you and bye-bye.